Hi, good morning, Nick. My name is Denita. I am 43 years old and I live in Florida.
Okay, great. Can you tell us what your connection to SCAD is?
So I am a SCAD survivor. Last year, June of 2019, I was sitting at work, normal day, having a great conversation with a staff member who had just returned from vacation, and he was showing me pictures of how he went skydiving and all of the great things that he did on vacation. And all of a sudden, I had some insane pressure on my chest and my jaw started hurting. And so I went to a coworker and we tried to Google diagnose what was going on and didn't do very well with that. So we decided that it would be a good idea for her to drive me to the hospital. Typically, our protocol at work is to call an ambulance, but I supervised 40 people and I didn't want to freak anyone out. So I didn't follow my work's protocol and she drove me to the hospital and I walked in and they immediately put me, when I said I had chest pains, they immediately put me on an EKG and they did chest x-rays, but everything came back completely normal. So they sat me in the waiting room I was probably in the waiting room for 3 to 4 hours, having a heart attack, we learned later, obviously. So by the time I went back to a room in the ER, the doctor came in to treat me and asked, of course, all these questions, but you really could tell that he was leaning toward wanting it to be GERD or wanting to think the symptoms were GERD or anxiety. And I don't suffer from anxiety. So by this time I was over it though. And I was over the ER and I wanted to go back to work. Like I was ready to leave. But thankfully my husband and my coworker who drove me to the hospital were with me and convinced me, no, we really need to find out what's going on. So luckily the ER doctor did a troponin test where he tested my blood levels and that came back that something had happened with my heart. So at this point, we thought that I'd had just a regular heart attack and they admitted me. The next day I went to a angio, a heart catheterization. And while I was there, they found the blockage. And so they went out and told my sister and my husband, who were in the waiting room, of course, that they would be doing a stent to fix the blockage. And then a couple of minutes later, I've been told that the cardiologist went back out and said, actually, what she has is a dissection and we cannot do a stent. So we're just going to back out and take her to a room and the head cardiologist will be with her, like will come see her and kind of explain what's going on. And that's pretty much the information that we got for that day. So that night in the hospital, I had another heart attack. So they had to take me to the ICU. And in the ICU the next day, the cardiologist came, who I was familiar with because unfortunately I had had some medical issues several years prior where I had a pulmonary embolism and he was the cardiologist that treated me at that point. So now he has saved my life twice, basically. So anyway, he came in to see me and he explained what I had, which was a SCAD, and he explained what that was. He really, really wanted to do a stent or do heart surgery because it made him feel more comfortable, but he knew that that wasn't what was recommended. When I had the pulmonary embolism, they determined that I had a blood clotting disorder, and that's actually what had caused my SCAD. And he and my hematologist did lots of research and were only able to find 4 cases in the entire history of the world where these two are linked. So they really were in uncharted territory on how to treat me. The decision was that they would medically manage me. So I was on a lot of medicine, some pretty hard-hitting blood thinners and that kind of thing, for the first 6 months, and then we changed it after 6 months, and now I'm a little over a year out and still being medically managed.
Okay. So 3 hours unattended in the waiting room, eh?
Yeah, it was crazy. Like I said, I was sitting in the waiting room. I had my husband on one side, my coworker on the other, and we're Googling, like, what's going on? What are these symptoms? And a lot of stuff did come back panic attack. The only thing that kept coming back with heart attack was the jaw pain. I had really intense jaw pain. Um, and of course, the chest pressure, but that could be so many things. But yeah, they did not feel like I'm young, I'm healthy. Everything came back normal on the all the tests that they ran, so they really did not feel like it was a significant issue. Even really, the ER doctor didn't seem to think that it was a significant issue, but he was smart enough, and thank gosh he was wise enough to do that troponin test. And I actually saw him about it was probably about 6 months after the heart attack. I saw him. I had taken my kids to get some ice cream, and he was there with his kids getting ice cream. And I went up to him and said, you probably don't remember me, but you saved my life. And he said, what? And I said, you saw me in the ER. You thought I was having a panic attack, but you did troponin, and this is what I had. And he's like, I can't believe you had that. Oh my gosh. Like he was just overwhelmed at that point that it was a SCAD. But he's like, I've never actually seen someone who had one. So I don't think ER doctors are, well, we know ER doctors and other medical staff are not knowledgeable on SCAD. They're not.
Remind me again what year this was?
Last year.
It was last year. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Um, so, do you remember, I guess, what what did they tell you? Maybe you've already mentioned this, but what did they tell you as they were trying different things? You mentioned GERD. Second time I've heard that. First time I've ever heard this expression before, GERD. Does that have another name? That's not gastritis, is it? Is it the same thing, or because I've heard two different people, and you're the second person today that's mentioned GERD, and I didn't know that that was associated with a misdiagnosis of SCAD, but it sounds like it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the same, but it definitely is something that they were looking for it being, some kind of uh,
Gastrointestinal kind of thing?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Um, and let's see. So they did finally end up determining that it was SCAD. What would you've been through it, not having heard of SCAD before, because you were Googling it and whatnot. The What would you say to people who are just like, wow, this is never might never happen to me. I mean, this is so rare.
So it's really hard to think that it might happen to you. I mean, I can't believe that it happened to me, and it did. I still can't believe it happened to me. But I would say you have to be open to that. You may think that you are healthy, you're doing everything right, you're eating, you're exercising, you're doing everything that you have been told from day one to do to keep a healthy heart, and it has nothing whatsoever to do with that. My arteries are pristine, were the words that the doctors used. There was absolutely no indication that this should ever have happened. So
Mhm.
I would say take whatever symptoms you have, if you ever have them, God forbid, take them seriously, and make sure that the medical personnel that you're dealing with takes them seriously as well. Don't settle for you're having an anxiety attack or you're having GERD or whatever. If you believe it to be something more serious, then please advocate for yourself.
Yeah, what surprises me is that some people have told us that they just say, well, we don't know what it was. I mean, you had some kind of thing. We might not know. And it's
Yeah.
like, I think at that point, you should really start talking to people who are willing to be more honest with you or something. I don't know. But I'm just kind of curious. And when I say honest, I mean to say this could be something big. See, that's the thing that surprises me about doctors. If it's an unknown, it's like, well, okay, great. So should I be worried about it or not? Tell me what the possible terrible things could be, because I don't think people just doctors routinely offer that. But if I can ask you, what or are you comfortable talking about some of the emotional stuff that kind of came along with having gone through a recovery now?
Oh, of course. It's definitely been touch and go. It's been very, very difficult. It's a traumatic event. You almost go through the stages of grief. Although you are alive, your life does change dramatically. Um, so for me personally, I spent 5 months at home on bed rest. I wasn't allowed to really do much of anything. I started out with 5 minutes walking around my house, and then I would have to sleep for 2 hours after that because it was so exhausting. So it is very you feel alone because it's not well known until I found the groups, the SCAD groups. I felt very alone because I'd never even heard of this, much less knew somebody who I could talk to go, about it or anything like that. So support groups are very, very helpful. The Facebook groups have been helpful. Having a good support system. I'm married to an incredibly patient man. So it's just been, it's kind of been finding your way. So I would say be very patient with yourself, give yourself grace. Your life changes. We are used to being on the go all the time. And now sometimes there are days I just have to rest.
Wow, I didn't know that that a recovery could take months like that. Um,
Oh yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, was there anything I forgot to ask you? Anything you'd like to tell folks?
Um, I think that the SCAD research is amazing, and I hope that we are able to raise significant amount of money, and also significant amount of awareness, because that probably is the biggest right now. There's just so much that's unknown. I was sent to a specialist at the Mayo Clinic, and um, it was surprising to me because my doctors here were very, very much more knowledgeable and researched a lot more than the person at the Mayo Clinic, where they're supposed to be the experts. So I found it. I found that even who we consider to be the experts could use more awareness as well. And we need to get the word out there, and we need to educate women who are doing everything right, who think that this will never happen to them, just to be aware of the symptoms.
Okay, great. I noticed, by the way, you've got a lovely SCAD research shirt on,
Yes,
so that's
yes,
fantastic.
we are doing the skedaddle. My whole
Oh,
family,
nice.
my family did it last year without me. I wasn't physically able. So this year I get to join them. I've recovered enough that I'm going to join them, and we're going to have a great time and make a family day of it.
Okay, very nice, very nice. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate it.